because our next guest, delighted to have her on, Conservative MP for Redditch in the West Midlands, Rachel McLean, former Government Minister. Rachel, welcome to Talk Drive. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Let's start with that question. I sit here and I hear again and again that Home Office is fit for purpose. I sit here and I hear that civil servants are ruling the roost. Civil servants are taking a democratically elected government to court, whether they agree with Rwanda or not, I don't care, because I'm paying their wages. Nick from London just said it. Why don't governments, and I'm not just talking about this one, but why have not successive governments taken civil servants' powers away from them? Why are they, and have they been politicised and allowed to get away with seemingly whatever they want to get away with?
So I'd actually love to know what expertise Nick is speaking from, because I can tell him for a fact that I used to be a minister and I have sacked civil servants who were not doing their job and were not performing. I was only a very junior minister, and that was something that I needed to do. Your broader question is absolutely right. We do have to make sure that those civil servants are doing what the democratically elected government of the day, whether it's us or another government, is doing. And I think when I listened to the previous conversation, I actually think that we haven't politicised the civil service enough, but we have not politicised it enough from a right-wing perspective. That's the problem. We've actually inherited a lot of these left-wing progressive ideas that have now become almost part of the environment that the civil service and many other organisations just accept as gospel truth. And I don't think we've done enough in our time in government to clamp down on them. So I think what Esther McVeigh's doing is good. I think there's a lot more to do.
Do you think, it's a really interesting point as well, we were talking to Tobias about this as well, do you think that the Conservative Party listen, I'm 58, the way I was brought up, the Conservative Party stood for certain things. I will accept absolutely that, and I've said it won't be popular with you, I think that the job that Keir Starmer's done with that Labour Party in the last 4 years has been phenomenal, but I think it started a bit with Boris. The Tory party seems to have moved away from what the Tory party traditionally believed in, and now it's split, and we have this right-wing part of it, and the One Nation Tories. God, Lord Cameron came back. How bizarre is that? And you see a fractured party, and you say you're an ex-minister. Whatever people say to me, it very much looks like the Tory party is in trouble at the next election. The polls would say that you're going to be thrashed.
Well, you're a very young man, Jeremy.
Thank you very much. You're not. I'm an old git, but it's very kind of you, Rachel, for saying that.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I'll leave that aside, because I think we're the same age, so it's an interesting.
Well, you look a lot better than me. Jesus,
no, well,
it's the Elton John glasses. That's what it is, Rachel, isn't it?
I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, I'm going to keep doing it. So I think that. Yes, we have disagreements amongst colleagues, but goodness me, wouldn't it be bizarre if we were all robots and all agree with each other? That would be very, very strange. We are dealing with human beings who've got deeply held and passionate convictions about all sorts of things. At the end of the day, my colleagues and I disagree about a number of things. I'm probably more on the centre right of the party, but at the same time, people like to paint these pictures, and it makes nice copy, doesn't it, in the media? It makes nice newspaper headlines. It's nice for a chat show. But we fundamentally may disagree very strongly on some things, but the fundamentals we agree on.
Do you recognise the Tory party today, Rachel, compared to the Tory party from 14 years ago?
I wasn't. Do you know I wasn't even in it 14 years ago?
So, all right, you're showing your age again. All right, 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
I do. Look, I remember what made me join the Conservative Party was actually listening to David Cameron and Michael Gove, because at the time I was running a business in Birmingham, and I was starting a business. I was paying people. I was bringing up my 4 kids, and I thought, yeah, those people are really saying something that I can relate to, and it was them. It might be rather an unpopular thing to say, but those were the people that got me involved in the party at the time. And we've seen different characters, but, at the end of the day, we all believe in the same things. We all believe in our country. We all believe in freedom. We all believe in incentives. We all believe in the profit motive. We
Yeah.
all believe in backing people who work hard and allowing them to keep more of their own money. We all believe in controlling our borders. We might have some disagreements about how to implement that, but we're all fundamentally agreement on the nation state and the vital importance of that. And, I think actually if you look beneath the surface of some of the debates, which we rightly have, you will find way more in common.
Okay, going to throw at you several things if that's right. Who were you a minister under?
Boris. And also Rishi.
Okay, let's just start with this Rishi Sunak talking tough on global dangers. I was talking to Tobias. He and I seem to have spoken for 2 years about the concern about this triple axis of Russia and China and Iran. And actually, the world needs to wise up. We need to do something about our defences, and we need to understand we're not warmongering. The world is in a very dangerous and difficult place. To me, though, and I'm being straight, is it too little too late? Why wasn't Sunak talking like this 2 years ago, Rachel?
I think he's been talking about this consistently. Yeah. He was the Chancellor when we went in and defended Ukraine. He was Boris Johnson's Chancellor. We're putting all that money in to help Zelensky defend his country against that threat from Putin. I find it sort of quite funny when people always say, oh, you haven't been talking about this for 14 years. The world is changing, Jeremy.
Germany, yeah.
Germany.
It's my new name, Germany.
Yeah, okay, well, the world changes. Things change very, very quickly. You have to be agile. Just because you didn't talk about something last Tuesday doesn't mean that you weren't prepared.
All right. But you strike me as a really honest politician. So let's cut to the chase. He walked up 10 Downing Street. He said things were going to change, right? He employed Gavin Williamson. Immediately, that was a huge mistake. To me, and I'm being completely straight, very, very good business sort of head. Not sure he has the passion to take people with him. But it's all suddenly, we're going to spend money on defence. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. There are people in the Conservative Party who have wanted these things said more vocally in the last 2 years. And there are many voters in this country, Rachel, I'm sure you know this from going out in the streets, who are saying, you're only saying this because we've got an election coming. That's the sadness of the position. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, look, I have just been through a 6-week local election campaign, and I have knocked on thousands of people's doors and had conversations that are actually probably way more challenging than this one that you're having with me now.
Oh, great. That's knocked me down again. I'm old. We've got no memory. I'm useless at interviewing. Great.
You're just being, you're very good at interviewing. You're just being a bit kinder, perhaps, to me than some of the voters on the doorstep are, because they will give me much more of a roasting than you're currently giving me.
I don't think there's any. I think you can have an opinion. You don't just set out to do that to somebody. If you disagree with them, you can give an opinion. I've got some more questions for you. You won't be surprised, but go on, crack on.
No. I'm just trying to sort of put it in the context. So I'm not at all surprised by the things you put to me, and there will always be people who want us to be much more, if you like, quote unquote conservative. But actually, if you look at what Rishi has done since he's been Prime Minister, he actually inherited a really horrible mess, and it would not have been conservative to pretend that didn't exist, because part of being conservative is telling the truth and being honest about the state of the nation's finances. And it's no good to come in and say, yes, we're going to be able to cut your taxes and
No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about.
We have to deal with this real mess that we've got in front of us.
I'm not talking about the financial. I absolutely accept that. I'm talking about, I want the job so desperately. I'm going to do a deal with Suella Braverman to get the right of the party on my side, knowing full well that I don't actually believe in Rwanda, because actually it was Boris Johnson's. Let me throw some other stuff at you, Rachel. Getting rid of Boris Johnson, right or wrong?
Oh, so it's. I mean, look, you. I don't know if you looked at my kind of history. I was one of the people that did actually call for him to resign. I resigned from his government. I found it very difficult. The specific issue that I was upset about was his defence of a known sexual offender. And I've had numerous conversations with people, and it's split down the middle. There are some people who still think he should come back. I don't personally think he should come back now. He's been found to have been in breach of multiple parliamentary and other standards and the law in that. And so, but I still have a huge amount of respect and, if I can put it like this, affection for him. He's incredible.
Do you think he'll ever come back? Do you think he'll ever come back?
Oh, no, I don't know. I'm not a close enough friend of his. You'd really have to ask some of his friends. I've not spoken to him.
How bad was the trust time?
It was. really very bad, very bad. It seemed to be a maelstrom from pretty much day one, and it was just a very unreal time, because obviously the Queen died in the middle of it, which was incredibly upsetting and emotionally.
She was out of the depth, wasn't she? Let's be honest. She was out of the depth.
I think unfortunately she was. And again, I like Liz a lot, and I totally and fundamentally agree with what she was trying to do, and she was incredibly brave, but it was the wrong approach at the wrong time, I'm afraid.
Two final things. Great to have you. I want you on regularly. Common Sense Minister Esther McVeigh, a mate of mine, from television days, has decided today to scrap, this is what she said, I want to improve equality, division and inclusion by scrapping plans. Basically, I'm sick of these woke hobby horse jobs across Whitehall. Her number one policy, and I want to ask if you would do this in your office, either locally or nationally, are you going to ban rainbow lanyards, Rachel McLean?
I think that's a brilliant idea. I'm sure she needs to do a lot more than that, but that's a brilliant start.
What else could she do?
I think she is going to sort of clamp down on all the jobs, but I listened to what your last caller was saying. I think she probably needs to just monitor that very carefully, because there is a risk that they will get subsumed elsewhere. But I think she needs to not just look at the civil service. What people sometimes don't appreciate is how much of our state is delivered by quangos and arm's length bodies. So the NHS England is completely, very fundamentally outside of ministers' control.
It would be fair to say that if you listen to Labour talking about many things, and they are making a lot of sense to a lot of people, I have to say that, they talk about bodies and quangos and groups and committees and all the time. That's apparently the way forward. Final question. I love this, and I love having you on. This is a shock. Obese people are apparently more likely to be off sick from work. A study's found that employees who are overweight are 3 times more likely to leave. Today, a research group said, with current levels of obesity, politicians and government need to take more action to tackle the problem. I respectfully say people should take more responsibility for what they put down their throat. Rachel McLean, your thoughts?
No, I agree with you. I mean, how are you going to, even if government said we're going to tackle it, governments have been trying to tackle this for an awful long time. I mean, you can't sort of ban your way out of people eating too many donuts and drinking too much beer and sitting on the sofa too much, can you?
Brilliant.
How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
It's just
donut watch. Not going to happen. Please do come back on. Have loved having you on. You good to come? Will you come back on to us?
I'd be happy to.
Excellent. Loving the glasses as well. Rachel McLean, former government minister and the Tory MP for Redditch. Good to have on Drive.